Infinity Strash, Dragon Quest The Adventure of Dai. Now this game just released and you might have seen some not very good initial reviews of this game, but maybe you've talked to some friends and they're having a great time, so I'm here to let you know everything about the game, good or bad. So this is a retelling of the first half of the anime The Adventure of Dai, and I was actually really excited looking at all the trailers for this game, and a huge shout out to Square Enix. Thank you so much for the review code for this game. It was an amazing opportunity and I'm super grateful. And I'm having fun with the game right now, so let me get into why there is some negativity surrounding this game. So a lot of people were complaining about the combat. Now, the problem with it is it can be fun sometimes, but the initial feeling of it just needed a bit more work. For example, your parrying is actually really fun to pull off. When you block, it's pretty snappy and you can do it almost out of combos. Now, you can't really cancel combos. You definitely can't with the dodge, which is unfortunate, which doesn't really help with it. But the parry is pretty good and the block is pretty snappy. The dodge, on the other hand, is kind of where the issues come in. It's just a little slow, and the lag getting up and to get you start running again is a little too slow. And I also don't think it has enough iframes, because sometimes another enemy will shoot like a fireball and you'll perfect dodge the boss, but then something else will hit you because you're just not invincible enough. So that slowness does hinder the combat. The funnest I ever had with this game is when I'm fighting a boss and I'm just unleashing all my abilities and swapping through my teammates. The game is very beautiful with the character models and the special effects, so that is always nice to look at. And if you just like smacking stuff and watching high damage numbers increase and getting those perfect parries and stuff, it can definitely be fun. It's just not extremely well built, and it's unfortunate because I think this game totally deserves it. The other thing a lot of people had issue with was how it was claimed to be an RPG, but there's not much exploration or too many RPG elements. Now, this was a big one for me, especially because the game looks so beautiful. I want to explore the environments more. Now, I did not come into this game thinking it was going to be a full-fledged Dragon Quest XI, but I did think there was going to be more than this. You pretty much just break boxes in small areas, and the quests are extremely short. You will be back in a story section before you know it, and I just think there needed to be more in these missions, and that would have helped out a ton, because you're pretty much fighting the whole time, and that's usually fine, but the combat system needs to be superb if the whole game is going to be based on that, and unfortunately, it could just be fun sometimes. So the main loop of this game is you're going to watch these slideshow cutscenes where they're voice acted, and I must say the voice actors did an absolutely fantastic job. I always love listening to them. And after these slideshows, sometimes you'll get a 3D animated cutscene, and these look incredible. It honestly sucks sometimes because you're watching these slideshows and they're not so bad. You know, they're animated sometimes and the voice acting really carries it. But once you see these scenes that are in 3D, you're going to want those the whole time. So it's honestly unfortunate we didn't get more of those, but you do get them at the pinnacle moments in the story. So basically, there's going to be 3 mission types. One is like a side mission where you go in and you just beat a bunch of enemies and you choose your skin, your gear, and everything. The other one is the main story quest. You're going to go in, see a little bit of cutscenes, and then probably fight a boss or just do a main mission, and they're not going to let you change your skin, and they might even change a couple things about your class. Then there's these books where they're actually just story missions and you don't play at all. And this is a little bit of an issue because, as I said, the quests are really short, so sometimes you'll just have like 3 books in a row. And if you're not too into the story, then you're going to want to get back to the gameplay really fast. But good thing for the Temple of Recollection. This is a side activity that is like a roguelike dungeon that actually helps you level up in the main game. So through the main game, you have normal abilities that you'll bind to your buttons that you send out, like fire from the Dragon Quest series, which is super cool. Other than that, you have these cards, which they're called bond memories. And when you put these bond memories on, they're basically like perks. You know, it'll say like 12 extra magic and then 12 extra crit damage or something. And you put that on Ma'am because she uses magic attacks or something like that. To get more of these cards, you actually have to go through the Temple of Recollection and do these roguelike segments. Now, the only issue is you have to progress through the story to progress through the temple, so you kind of go back and forth from the Temple of Recollection to the story, and it does get kind of fun doing that. The only issue is sometimes I want to go further in the temple and I can't because I have to progress the story, so it will be cool when the story is fully completed and you can go back to the temple and just do it all the way, because the roguelike elements are actually pretty fun. The funnest I actually had besides the bosses was also the Temple of Recollection. The thing is, I just wanted to explore a bit more in the game, and if I'm going to be fighting the entire time, I just wish there was a bit more to the combat. But if you're like a huge Dragon Quest fan, or especially if you played this anime, the bosses are definitely going to be cool in particular because they're all based on the anime. So if you ever wanted to fight the villains from the show, you can here. And their movesets aren't terrible. They definitely don't have too many moves you have to learn, but they have enough to keep you on your toes. The story I've been able to actually follow pretty well. The only thing is I'm not super into it, as it seems like they're cutting some stuff out of the anime to shorten it as they need to with the game. So I'm not super into it. I think fans of the anime will actually get more out of this, even though they didn't cover the entirety of the story. One thing I particularly liked was the challenge aspect of the game. So the roguelike dungeon, you naturally have to choose different perks and different stats to upgrade as you go through the dungeon like any other roguelike, and you reset from level 1 every time you go in there. Besides that, the bosses actually pose a bit of a challenge later in the game, which I actually found pretty fun. Not all the bosses had minimal moves, some of them actually had some decent movesets you had to learn. So if you're able to just have some button mashing fun and not take the game too seriously, I think you will have a fun time here. I think the biggest issue is the initial price tag, is the game just doesn't seem like it should be as much as other games like Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy or full price games, you know, because the combat system just doesn't match anything. I even had an absolute blast with Star Ocean, The Divine Force, and Valkyrie Elysium earlier this year. Those were full price, but seemed like lower budget than, let's say, a Final Fantasy, but I think those were actually designed much better than this game. But you could still have fun with this combat system, and a game that, again, the game looks beautiful, so if you enjoy just the pretty special effects and the characters in particular, then you will like this game for sure, especially with the interactions and stuff you get to hear through the story. Again, I just do think it deserved more. This premise from the anime and these characters and where they're exploring would have made such nice little levels. Like, each of these missions could have stayed the same, but adding more variety and a little bit more exploration, it would have helped out a ton. So maybe some feedback towards any updates for the game. I actually think they should seriously lower the amount of time it takes to come out of a dodge. That would significantly improve the game. Another thing is a run button to make yourself go even faster, so you could start running around the field a bit more and get yourself out of a dodge quicker. I don't think they're going to be able to add that, but it's kind of a hope. Other than that, guys, yeah, it's a pretty simple game. Honestly, you have to think of it more like an anime brawler almost, instead of an action RPG. I know they advertised it as that, but in my opinion, you're just going to go in and be brawling the whole time, and then see anime-style cutscenes that are kind of straight from the anime, unless they're doing the 3D rendered ones, which those are super, super clean. Again, the visuals are really pretty, so if you don't want, like, insane combat depth, you could definitely find something here. I'm actually having a good time with it now, but again, I'm shutting my brain off and kind of just going through the roguelike dungeon as I get to the very end of the game. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review of Infinity Strash Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai. Thank you again to Square Enix for this opportunity to review the game. I appreciate them so much sending me a code, and I hope you guys found some info towards Infinity Strash that might help you with your purchase, and let me know if you want to see any more content on it or if you have any questions. I'll see you guys in the next JRPG review. Please subscribe as it helps me out so much. I'll see you later. Peace.